shouldn't have gone too forward. That's their only vehicle, which is still in the carport out here. Well, that sounds like a real mystery, don't it?
It sure does, you dumb fathead.
Hello and welcome to Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Chex and I'm joined by Luke as always. How you doing, Luke?
I'm not too bad.
Looking forward to this episode. We've had a couple of big weeks with some big mythology episodes. We're going back to Monster of the Week this week.
It definitely feels like a break.
Yes.
It feels like they kind of knew that the week before was going to be quite a lore-heavy one. It's like, let's scale it back to as basic as we could get it, if you know what I mean. So keen listeners will have noticed that we usually take it in turns, hosting week by week. And those with a keen ear will have noticed that you have taken the reins for the last 2 weeks. Did a double duty, yeah.
Double duty, and that's mostly because I've suffered with a little bit of tonsillitis over the past week or two. And so I thought, basically the idea was, because we record in batches, we said, oh, do you mind, I said to Luke, do you mind taking over the reins for the first episode, just so I don't lose my voice for the second episode? Because I have been losing my voice. You might hear my voice go throughout this episode, and that's the reason why. As I was watching this episode, I thought to myself, I can't believe I gave you the last episode. And this is what I've been left with.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where, you really regret it afterwards. You're like,
Yeah. I mean, but there is a good thing. I have still got my voice for this episode.
That is
so
true.
there is positives to this. Yeah, I mean, have you been up to much this week?
So yeah, just like, one thing I did is I went to see Dune, the film. Just a mini review of that.
I have not seen Dune, and I don't really know anything about Dune apart from it's a film I want to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, give us a review of that.
I mean, I was really looking forward to it anyway, because I think I mentioned it last year actually when it got pushed back. I was really looking forward to it. I'd read the book, because it's always listed as a sci-fi classic, and I was like, maybe I should give it a go. Really enjoyed the book, and yeah, the film really, really good, to be honest. The only criticism, and if you don't know about this going into it, I honestly think you should know going into it, because it could leave you a bit sour if you didn't know, is it's the first of 2 parts.
Yeah.
And yeah, they don't advertise that, even though it literally says when the film starts, it says Dune Part 1.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is that not on any... I mean...
And I'm guessing by 2 parts, we're not talking a film and its sequel. We're talking about literally half a film.
Yeah, when you finish the film, you feel like you've watched a very good half of a film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, the setup's really good. The way that the world's sort of explained, because it is a weird universe to sort of jump into. And it does a really good job of explaining that. Tash is not a sci-fi fan at all, and even she was coming out of it knowing more about because it's about different houses against one another.
Okay,
Game of Thrones. He kind of
I said the political landscape.
Yeah. So there's all that kind of maneuverings, and that was her angle. She was it was kind of like Game of Thrones in space, and I was like, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, it does a good job of explaining all that. But yeah, it's just so silly that it's the second half now is not going to be until 2023.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? That is the issue of it's how much can that anticipation last now? If it's next year, it's a different story. I mean, I was absolutely flabbergasted the other day when I heard that we're a year or 2 away from the sequel to Avatar. And I was
yeah.
And I just thought to myself, does anybody care? That's such a wild one. That was 10 years ago.
And to be honest, that film didn't really need a sequel. You know what I mean? It kind of said everything that it needed to say.
The thing is with Avatar is, it was an all-white film. I don't want to be sort of lean into this hyperbolic like
criticism.
Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to find the right words because you'll get two completely different ends of the spectrum where it's like the best film in the world or it's like the worst film in the world. I don't think it's either. I think it's an all-right film.
Yeah.
I think it's a good. Is it like the most interesting and detailed story? No, but then neither is Star Wars. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and people twist it to suit their narrative.
Yeah.
I thought it was revolutionary for what it did at the time. But my God, who's waiting for a sequel 10 years down the line?
But it is James Cameron, and James Cameron does good sequels, like Terminator 2.
It's true, but
Aliens.
Terminator 2 came out less than 10 years after Terminator 1.
Definitely less. I'm waiting for Titanic 2, to be honest. That'd be amazing. I assume. But no, I don't
Imagine if he had all of his sequels was titled Judgment Day.
Titanic 2, Judgment Day. They're going to take that iceberg out. No, it's just I don't understand it. Yeah, that why they're going back to it, but I don't know. Like apparently he's got more ideas to. Apparently he's like done a new revolutionary underwater filming technique, which again, Titanic 2 is going to look amazing. But like,
I'm sure. This is the thing. I'm sure it's going to look fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's going to push the boundaries of what film can be. I just don't think I care enough about it. And this is my worry for Dune as well, which is, I mean, let's be completely honest. It's going to take 2 years to come out. 2023, probably going to get pushed back.
Yeah,
You're probably talking more 2024, 2025.
Yeah.
Is anyone going to still care? That's the issue.
That's the worry.
That's, you know.
Luckily, I know the end of the stories.
You don't have to worry too much about it.
Honestly, I feel like the book is going to end up getting like taken off because everyone's going to be like, I can't be bothered to wait, to be honest. I'm just going to like read what happens or listen to your audiobook, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. The most baffling one about going back to Avatar is that it's got its own land at Disneyland.
Why? Why? It makes no sense.
So like they like theme different parts. So you've got a Star Wars land, makes sense. Big franchise, got a lot of history, got a lot of fans. Yeah, fine. Marvel, again, a lot of history, a lot of fans, like quite popular at the moment. Avatar.
I feel like when they first started this out, they was like, this is going to be the franchise. This is going to be such a huge thing. And they've done a really good job of like setting everything in motion. They just forgot to make the franchise.
Yeah.
Everything's there, set up ready for this.
Just not the other films.
Just no films. That's the problem. What they could have done with is like a series, like just continuous episodes where you can just watch through it. Maybe someone could make a podcast as they went along, like we're doing with the X-Files. Today we'll be looking at Season 6, Episode 13 of The X-Files, and it's entitled Agua Mala, or Agua Mala.
I think, yeah.
Directed by Rob Bowman, written by David Amann, and it originally aired on February 21st, 1999. Let's get straight into the intro. Immediately, we know it's Monster of the Week because it starts off with characters we've never seen before.
Yeah, immediately.
Which is a dead giveaway, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we start off with, in Goodland, Florida, and it looks like there's a hurricane. Basically, it looks like this family, particularly this mother and child, is preparing for a hurricane that's coming in. Mm-hmm. And the mother seems very concerned about a drain that keeps... like water just keeps filling up. I didn't understand why she was so concerned about it, because this happens in hurricanes where like water or sewage or like seawater gets pushed back through the pipes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But she seemed to know there was something more to this. Mm-hmm. So after a few attempts and a quick scare by the cat who was stuck behind the washing machine, she tries to push over the washing machine that's full of like water and clothes.
To like wash it back down the drain, isn't it?
Maybe I'm not.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, as we find out later in the episode, it might be to kill it, but I don't know how she would know this.
Yeah.
But she seems to. This is the thing, that she seemed to know what was going on because she seems to know it's a sinister situation.
They do mention later on that her and her husband, who's missing at the moment, isn't in the scene. And they're marine biologists, so maybe they're...
Oh, that's actually a very good point.
Maybe they've encountered whatever this is before. I don't know. Because, I mean, obviously, if you've seen the episode, you know that it's some kind of water monster thing. So maybe they've run into it and... I don't know.
Yeah.
Not told anyone. I don't know.
That's a very... Yeah, exactly. No one knows, but they know.
Yeah.
But anyway, she asks her son to go behind the washing machine and push it over. And as he does so, out of the pipe is this, like, tentacle thing.
Yeah.
That we assume kills the son and also attacks and ensnares and traps her as well. And this is the intro. We get left with this sort of like dire situation between these two, basically losing their life here.
Yeah.
As I say, Monster of the Week, we know straight away what we're dealing with. What was your first impressions?
I was intrigued by what this monster was. And if I'll be honest, that's kind of why this is kind of... it's a bit of a damp squib at the end of the...
Squid?
Damp squid.
Damp squid. That works. It works.
It works.
This episode is a damp squid for sure.
Yeah, because by the end of it, it's like I'm still kind of like intrigued by the monster, but don't really know anything about it. You know what I mean? Not to jump the gun a bit, but yeah, the opening scene itself, I was like, oh, this is interesting. What's this thing? Like, where does it come from? Is this alien? Is it like, and we've like, is it a sea creature? Whatever.
Well, my first thought was a little bit apprehensive because it became immediately clear that they're doing the old X-Files thing of, after a big, like, sort of plot revealing episode, a mythology episode, we're going to go straight to a Monster of the Week where we never bring that up.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm not opposed to that. I've said on this podcast in the past, so I don't want to be a hypocrite. I actually think this sort of episode is needed because you need a palate cleanser.
Yeah. It's I definitely feel like you need that like reset after something big like this. So it doesn't bother me that we have not a follow on. If it was a different type of series, like one that's like sequential, like all the way through, it would be a bit jarring. But we sort of know the format for this now.
Exactly.
So it didn't bother me too much.
After the intro, we see Mulder and Scully traverse the way through a storm, and it looks like a very bad storm. They end up arriving at the home of Arthur Dales, a retired FBI agent who we find out was one of the first people to look into the X-Files, and he's the one that called Mulder asking for his help. Yeah,
it took me a while to figure out who he was. When they kept saying Dales, I was like, that seems familiar. And it took me a while, like, and to be honest, when I was looking through notes and stuff, I was like, oh, this is... And we find out that this is the guy who started the X-Files and was in, like, I think the episode's called Travelers, where... we see like how the X-Files formed and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, that's cool, like tie-in, like, because I think we said at the time, like, I wonder if this will like ever come back up. And it's cool that like in this episode and like the last few episodes and as well, again, peek behind the curtain, next week's episode, there's all these tie-ins to older episodes that plot-wise don't really matter, but it's nice sort of like flavouring for the world. You know
for sure. I mean, how many times have we had this discussion in the first couple of seasons where we were just like, we want more characters, we want more recurring characters. Mulder and Scully, as much as I love those characters, they can't hold 10 seasons on their own. You need other stories. And it definitely feels like we are getting there. That being said, until you told me what we'd seen him before, I didn't realise that it was the same guy.
It took me a long time, to be honest. I was at least like halfway through the episode where I was like, hang on a bit, Dales.
He's basically Mulder in 30 years' time. Yes. He's this paranoid guy that sits in his trailer listening to the police radio and looking for and like scoffing when he thinks they've got it wrong.
He calls them fatheads.
Which
I like because I can sympathise whenever I've just got off the phone with somebody who's been a fathead.
He's just very isolated. He tells them about the Shipley family. He mentions, like you said, that they are marine biologists, and Sarah called him in a panic, telling him that her husband had been attacked by a tentacled monster. Again, we can assume that she figured out that fresh water was the answer to this. I don't know how she would have figured this out, but I think actually the fact that the marine biologist does actually... I think that holds weight. I think that's a good observation for myself.
I mean, it might have been that, or it might have just been her trying to trying to flood that.
Yeah, it could have. Yeah,
I don't really know, but that was sort of my thought of maybe that's why. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, Scully doesn't believe this, but does realise that it's a hurricane. Maybe we should just check on the family just to be on the safe side. And they end up going to the house, which has been barricaded from the inside. So the idea of like it being an empty house, how did they get out with it? That's something they need to figure out. And it's not long. There's a tense scene with. Well, first of all, we meet the sheriff, or he's the deputy sheriff, isn't he? Yeah. Deputy Greer, who basically is the lovable dunce cop.
Yeah.
Who holds them up at gunpoint and ends up getting disarmed by Mulder and just showed his FBI badge and basically being made a fool out of.
He doesn't believe him or anything, but this is really weird because a few weeks ago we did Rain King, and there's a character in that, the mayor of the town. I said, oh, he plays a guy called Hitchcock in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
And I said, it's funny because his partner is a chap called Scully.
It's this guy, isn't that guy? Of course it is.
I was like, oh shit, they've literally got all of the, they've got both of those characters in there now. And as soon as I saw him, I was like, no way. Like, they literally have been, I mentioned that the other day, I was like, oh, it'd be funny, like, because he's called Scully, I was like, oh, it's funny, like, that weird connection. And to literally see it happen, like, a few episodes later.
Yeah. Plot twist. Andy Samberg's the kid.
I might have to look it up.
Just imagine.
It's one of his first roles.
He believes they're a burglar, but after like a quick sort of like making a show of him, basically, Mulder convinced them that they are FBI and agree to search the house together. They also there is a weird scene. The cat is a recurring character throughout this episode as well.
Yeah, Reggie.
Reggie the cat.
I registered his name. Yeah.
Who there's a brief scene of like a tense opening of the washer, and it ends up being the cat that's in there that gives them all a sort of scare.
Yeah.
I don't really know if the cat's not important, but it seems to follow the story. I thought the cat was going to be important, and
maybe it's like. Do you know what's it called now? Not Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. And the cat is also like this alien thing.
Oh, it's
maybe
tentacle alien,
tentacle alien in there.
Maybe the cat. Maybe they got it wrong in the end.
Missed it on the most important character, Reggie the cat.
Reggie the cat. So after this is a very weird one to review, to be honest, because I don't know. I'm just reading through my notes here, and I'm just like. The entire episode is set up to a Monster of the Week.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I was about to just read through my notes, and basically, the next, like, few scenes is just everyone preparing for the hurricane. Like, not a lot really happens in this episode. It all builds up to the classic X-Files reveal of the monster, and then we never get that reveal.
Yeah.
And the resolution to the monster just happens off screen.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
It definitely feels like there's a story to this episode. Do you know what I mean? Like the production of it, like there's something where somewhere's got wrong. You know, what I mean?
Very much feels like a budget. We need an episode under this amount just to fill this spot. Can you provide it?
Yeah,
I'd be very interested to see if there's anything's in the production notes about that.
I can't remember if anything concrete, but I wonder if it's something where they've never. Then again, they're quite open from.
They are, yeah,
maybe, yeah.
I'm gonna like quickly go through this. Basically, there's a lot of scenes here of Deputy Greer checking out different houses, making sure everyone's safe in this hurricane. And he ends up just going out to check a hotel, make sure that the residents are safe and they've all evacuated.
Yeah.
And Mulder and Scully try to go to the airport, because basically try to decide that nothing's actually happened here.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it, but they can't leave because the hurricane's got so they get turned back basically and told find shelter for the night. I don't think anything major happens in any of those scenes really that we need to delve into.
No, I mean the one like sort of glowing point of the episode, if you that I quite enjoyed, was seeing the characters in the it's in the hotel, isn't it? Like,
well, yeah. So it's the same hotel that Greer goes to investigate, and Mulder and Scully do end up eventually noticing the car on the side of the road and going to pull up and investigate in that hotel as well, which is where the main part of this episode takes place.
But yeah, I mean, up until that point, there's not too much to know. But yeah, the residents of the hotel, I think, are the sort of most interesting part of the episode.
Yeah, for sure. So first, we'll deal with Greer, who goes there, who is evacuating the whole place. No one seems to be there at this point. But as he knocks on one door, it opens up, and he finds. Well, he goes to investigate, and he finds what looks like a cocoon almost.
Yeah.
It's basically a guy that has died on the toilet. And he is covered head to toe in this sort of slimy substance.
Yeah, it's kind of like turned him translucent in it, so he's like being turned into this goo or whatever it is.
Yeah. And then this tentacle thing, as he investigates further, this tentacle thing grabs Greer round the throat and pulls him onto this guy's lap on the toilet. I just thought, what a horrific way to die if this is the end. And yeah, that's the last we see of it until Mulder and Scully turn up and find Greer's body. Important to note that the guy in the toilet is no longer there. He's sort of disappeared. The toilet's still covered in this sort of slimy substance. Greer's not covered in the substance. However, he has got like puncture marks all around his throat and neck.
Yeah, because he's still alive at the point.
Yes,
yeah. They have to give him a, what do you call that, tracheotomy, is it the throat thing?
Yeah, again, I thought a Lost callback there.
Yeah.
before Lost even came out. But all I could think of is Lost when this happened, because that's the only show I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
It didn't even happen in Lost.
Yeah. I always wonder that, how often do you have to do these? Because I see them in TV shows, like often, and it's like, I've never heard of anyone who's had a tracheotomy. Surely you'd see it, like a scar or something.
You'd imagine so. Speaking of, they didn't shy away from showing it either in this. I have a thing about my throat where I'm very sensitive about people touching it or anything like that. Like, even if I'm lying in bed and I can't wear a t-shirt to bed because if the neck falls onto my throat, I freak out. And so this made me very squeamish of seeing Scully perform this sort of operation.
Knife somebody in the throat.
Yeah.
Also, it's very high risk in it because you go the wrong place, you're gonna just murder murder someone.
But they do sort of work on him and try and sort of keep him alive, but he is in a bad way. And Mulder goes around to see whether anybody else is in the building. And like you said, we do find certain residents in the building that are trying to sort of wait the hurricane out. So first we see Dougie.
The looter, is he?
The looter. Yeah. Is he the guy in Prison Break?
Ooh, you might be right, actually.
I think he's the guy that Michael's cellmate that doesn't sleep.
Michael's cellmate that doesn't sleep. Right, I'm going to try and find it. You carry on.
Should I carry on whilst you do your research?
Yeah. He looked familiar. I thought initially he was... Do you know the guy in Ant-Man? Do you know the... one of the crew that he's got, the bank robbing crew?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I can't remember. He's like Damien something or something. I think
yeah. I think he'd be too young.
Yeah, that's right. I thought. I thought he'd probably be too young for it, but he kind of looked like him. But yeah, okay. I'll find out.
You do the research, and I'll just introduce the characters that we get introduced to. Dougie is a looter who is quite obviously looting. Mulder knows he's looting. Dougie knows that Mulder knows he's looting. And they all just kind of go, listen, we're in a hurricane. Shall we just forget this ever happened? And Dougie literally goes, I'm just gonna put the stuff back. As he,
you caught me. Let's just
and everyone's just like, let's just leave it there.
Is the character in Prison Break called Charles Haywire something? And it might be a test of your knowledge of prison.
Oh my god, it's been a long time.
He is in Prison Break, so I assume you're correct.
Yes, that makes sense to me. We also introduced to Walter Suarez, and he is he has a girlfriend, definitely not a wife, called Angela Villarreal, not Suarez. Make that very clear, not Suarez.
She didn't want any connection to him.
She is so mean to him.
She's my favourite character in this. I don't know what that says about me. But yeah, I thought she was brilliant in this. Like, just like how strong-headed she was in this. She was like, I don't care about this alien like shit that's going on. I got a baby they're gonna deal with.
It's true. 9 months pregnant she is.
Yeah.
And we also get introduced to a guy that won't open the door, George Vincent, who is a gun nut, basically a conspiracist.
Yeah, this is the guy.
His apartment's basically a bunker.
Yeah, this is the guy that if he was, I don't know what he's doing after. Did he survive, that guy?
Yes.
Yes. So if he was in 2020...
Well, I assume he does. Yeah. Again, we don't know. Because this episode doesn't bloody deal with anything after the fact.
Just kind of just finishes,
Can you tell I'm a little sour on this episode?
This guy would be the guy who disputes the election. Is like COVID is a hoax.
Yeah, he's an anti-vaxxer for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So like I said, Mulder does try and get him out. He refuses, but then as he's sort of like walking around his apartment, we see that the light fixtures are filling up with water from like water above, and we do see like a shadow of what looks like a worm or a tentacle. And the next time we see this guy, he is just shooting the ceiling, to the point where like Mulder runs in. Everyone sort of. They do that classic Scooby-Doo trope of like everyone's heads around the door at different angles. And he walks out having fought back from this tentacle, and he agrees to help them after seeing that there is. Yeah. He said he didn't really see it because it was the corner of his eye. He took enough shots at it for something that he didn't see.
This guy doesn't seem like he'd ask questions first, though. You know what I mean?
Definitely shoots first.
Yeah. For sure. I'll deal with the ramifications later.
I'm a little bit all over the place, but it's very.
To be fair, these scenes in the hotel were very chaotic.
They're very chaotic.
A lot happens as well.
All the way through this, Mulder starts to come up with a theory that Scully is saying that there's an entity of some sort of. I think she's thinking more like bacteria or something like that that's causing the sort of whelps on the neck. Mulder is theorizing that it's like a deep sea creature, something that we haven't seen before, that has been brought in by the hurricane. Through like the water systems, and that's why like the bath and the toilet can be so dangerous. Another thing that's happened is Scully takes the Deputy Greer and puts him in the bath because he's got a really high temperature. Basically, they're worried that he won't last the night because they've obviously got to stay there because of the hurricane, but he won't last the night if he stays in that position. Dougie takes no time in going and stealing his wedding ring, his watch.
He's not using it, I suppose.
Why not? And he's really just like going all out and he takes this looting seriously. Dougie does.
Well, if you're gonna do it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He does it right. Literally. Just the image of him pulling on the wedding ring and just like trying to like Vaseline his finger up. But what he does do is he knocks over a container of, and I looked this up, Epsom salts.
Epsom salts, okay, yeah.
I don't know what Epsom salts is. I'm assuming it turns.
And it like what you put in like. They're not bath salts as in the ones that like make you go crazy, but like aren't they like bath salts that you put in like?
Shall I have a look?
I can do it if you want.
I'm already there, Luke, okay? Epsom salts, or magnesium sulfate, is a chemical compound, a salt with the formula MgSO4, consisting of magnesium cations, Mg2+, 20.19% by mass,
Don't feel like we're getting
and
anywhere.
sulfate, please, show some respect, Luke,
Okay.
and sulfate anions, SO2/4. It is a white crystalline solid soluble in water, but not, like you might think, in ethanol.
Oh, you don't want to do it in ethanol.
So now we know
Like a
exactly what Epsom salts are. I've got no idea.
It says here, it says including bath salts. So,
But
I don't know.
this was a big thing. Like the camera definitely panned to the fact that he knocked this over.
Yeah,
I've got no idea what.
I never used like stuff like this. I tell a lie. I used Radox bath thing once, like muscle thing.
Okay. This is relatable stuff. Tell me about that time, Luke.
Maybe that's similar. I don't know if I ever needed to fight off living water. Maybe I'd use some Radox. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's for, to be honest. Yeah, hastens recovery from muscle pain. So somebody in there had muscle pain. It's just a salt.
But yeah, this is the thing. This is what I'm saying is the camera panned to it like it was going to be an important part.
Yeah.
And the next time we see the bathtub, Greer has dissolved.
Maybe the salt dissolves the thing.
So are we saying that Greer had become a water monster himself?
Well, we are 70% water. Maybe it just like gets rid of the...
So it's taken over his body and then the salt's dried up the body.
I don't know. I've got to be honest. I don't really know what happened in this episode.
Most Unwanted podcast. Make sure to subscribe.
Like, I watched it all, but I finished it and I was like, I don't really know what happened there, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he disappears. Before that, I have jumped to that bit.
Yeah.
Angela goes to the toilet, and she's the one that finds him actually.
Yeah.
Because she's sort of like saying to him, "Don't you look, even though you're asleep, but even though you're unconscious, don't you look?"
Doesn't she say she needs to go to the toilet because she's got her bladder pressing against it? She's like, your kid will have a head like a tortilla. Again, this is why I love this character. Honestly, the best thing in the episode.
But so she calls to the fact that he's disappeared, and when they go and check, all that's left in the bathtub is all the water's gone. All that's left is Greer's clothes, his uniform.
Yeah.
So that's not good. This is where Mulder sort of theorizes that it doesn't just live in water, but it's like a living form of water. So the creature is water itself rather than a creature that lives in water. And so that it's invisible, apart from like when it's coming at you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it's there because it would be the water in the sink, basically. And it uses people as hosts to reproduce. And then they realise, we need to get out of here because this place is literally water everywhere you look.
Yeah.
Because of the hurricane.
Yeah.
But then it's not long before, as Mulder leaves to go outside, he looks up, sees the light fixture again, and gets attacked himself. And the next time we see Mulder, he has the same... I thought it was puncture
Yeah, I think
marks or like welts or something like that around his throat.
I thought they were like puncture, maybe like the tentacles have like barbs or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I assume. Again, we don't see really the attack. We just see the start of it, and we see the after effects with him having those puncture marks. To which George Vincent doesn't take any risks.
Yeah.
Closes the door.
Quarantine.
Yeah. He believes it now.
Yeah, he's all on board now.
Yeah, lockdown is a good idea. Basically trying to save them, take them hostage, potato.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He's basically...
Sometimes you've got to break an egg. To make an
Exactly.
omelette.
Exactly. All of this is made more chaotic by the fact that Angela goes into labour in the apartment.
Yeah.
To which Scully's like, I've never given birth. I've never... What's the... delivered a baby.
Delivered a baby, yeah.
Before, so this
or
is...
given birth, either.
Yeah, no, either one.
Yeah.
Why have I got it in my head that she's given birth? Is there a scene that we've seen that she's given birth? Hasn't she got a daughter?
No, not that I'm aware of. Unless she's had some
No,
kind
there
of
was,
like...
there was a whole episode.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit. Yeah, she did. But it was like an alien thing when it...
Oh, this episode's a write-off, isn't it? We don't know what we're talking about.
It was like an alien thing.
No, that's the way we did describe everything. We are so incapable of doing a good show that every time something happens, it was an alien thing, though. It was definitely an alien thing.
She... Oh, God, that's a plot line. Because I remember it now. You said it.
Yeah.
It was like a big plot line with the baby that sort of... Because it was her kid. That
A daughter, yeah.
Like, turned to dust. When it
Yeah.
I remember, yeah. I remember it now. It was definitely an alien baby.
It's an alien thing.
Yeah,
it's one of those alien things. We don't have to pay attention to it. It's just an alien thing.
That's the X-Files version of it's magic, isn't it?
It's magic. It's just magic.
It's magic. Just alien stuff.
So yeah, we had like a hyper chaotic scene where George is holding everyone up by gunpoint. Angela is throwing insults here, there, and everywhere at everybody. Walter is like the typical sort of like unneeded boyfriend at the time, where he's just trying to help but isn't.
Felt like I could relate.
Mulder's dying outside, just back against the wall, and Scully is delivering this baby. Yeah. We see above the light fixtures above George, a tentacle comes out, wraps the tentacle around his neck. Scully just is desperate to deliver this baby, and instructs Walter Suarez to pick up the gun and shoot, and he gets his big hero moment where he picks up the gun, he aims at the sprinklers, because this is the thing, Scully just kind of realizes
that water helps.
I think it's something to do with the birth. She just figures it out. I'm not quite sure. Oh, it's because they're after, like, they need water for the baby, don't they? Just to sort of like wet towels and stuff like that.
Yeah. Good shot from
really
this
good
guy.
shot. Yeah, I mean,
for a guy, I'm guessing he's never shot a gun before. I mean, I don't know his backstory. That's one thing they don't flesh out enough on this episode.
None of them really. They're all very generic characters. It's like a Left 4 Dead characters. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just like they're just skins for you to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, shoots the sprinklers and fresh. That's it. Yeah. End of the episode.
The water fixes the problem.
Basically, this is my problem with this episode. It was just like it cuts then, and then it cuts afterwards, and everyone's fine.
Yeah.
And it's like we don't get to see it. We don't get to know what the monster was. We know that basically they explain fresh water keeps this thing at bay. It's a saltwater thing, which I'm assuming that's why the fresh water would stop it from getting anywhere, and the same way that maybe the salts cleared the water out and kept it at bay. But yeah, we don't really get to see any, like, we don't get to see the monster, we don't get to see how it reacts, we don't get to see how people are saved. It just ends there pretty much.
Didn't we get the wrap up as well with that?
We get the, like, but that's like, it's like a flash forward.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to know, like, what was your take on, like, the way this particular storyline ended?
Again, it was a bit unfulfilling. Like I said, it just seemed to the actual idea of the monster is really interesting, and then it was just like, and I mean, you could argue, it's because they're trying to go for it's a mystery. That's fine, but there's sometimes where it's like just leaving it as a mystery is really unfulfilling.
Yeah.
And it just felt like they just was like, we don't need to worry about it after this. It's just a monster a week, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of one of those where it's like, if they don't care, then why should we?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I sort of get that as well, and there was something I missed as well, which is Mulder sees the cat. The cat came along in the truck with them, or with the cop, and I think he realizes that because the cat was in the fresh water with the clothes, that he sort of realized, well, if the cat's safe, then I would be safe if I went into the rainwater myself.
Yeah. So
he's particularly saying that he figured it out himself. We jump to the last scene. The last scene, I'm not going to lie, I was very down on this episode. I didn't really enjoy it. I even the characters in the hotel, like, I was just like, they're all very generic. They're all very just like stereotypes of people. And there was no consequences to any of this. However, I do like this last scene. I will say that.
Yeah.
And the last scene is back in the trailer with Dales, the guy who called them down here. We get a recap of like what's happened afterwards. The hurricane's over. We know the baby was born. And the creature vanished, and everyone was like basically saved when the water hit everybody. And they're recounting this story to Dales, who doesn't quite believe it. See, you still get that sort of sparkle in his eye that Mulder has, so you can tell that he's still sort of interested in like weird goings on and like the story of it.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to mention to Mulder that Scully saved him, and like, if he'd have had a partner like Scully, when he was on the X-Files, maybe he'd have stuck around and done it some more. Maybe he wouldn't have retired, which I thought was like a nice little nod to the fact that these two make such a good pair that they sort of complement each other, and it's the reason why they can keep going through all like the sort of anything that life throws at them. They can push through it because they've got each other, and I do like that sort of idea. And yeah, we get a sitcom ending where he says, "Do you want some water?" And both agents go, "No." End of the episode. I didn't like this.
What gave it away?
Yeah, you know what it was. I feel like I'm a lot. I sound like I'm a lot more down on it than I actually am. I just didn't care for it. There wasn't like it wasn't like I hated it. I especially after such a great couple of episodes.
It definitely felt in contrast to the previous episode.
So in contrast. And then the fact that, like, and I don't mind that usually, but the fact that it's like, it's going to be a monster of the week. Oh, just show me the monster then. Do you know what I mean? Like, at least give me something rather than nothing. There was nothing. It just felt like they all stayed night in a hotel, scared of something in the dark. Yeah.
There was. It definitely felt for me like it was made as like a palate cleanser. Quite literally, it's all water.
The water,
so it was very by the numbers. I enjoyed the characters in the hotel. I think that was the one point that like I actually enjoyed from the episode.
Yeah.
I know you're saying about them being like caricatures and stuff like that, but to be honest, I didn't mind that. I think they kind of like suited the role that they needed to be of this, like, to add to this chaos of the situation. So yeah, I enjoyed their characters, but yeah, the monster was just like really underwhelming by the end of it. From what was a really cool setup. Yeah, it was kind of underwhelming by the end, and there's some things that I take away from the episode that I like. Like I said, it was nice seeing this character, this Dales again. But yeah, as overall, it's just okay in an episode. I think
for sure.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I really liked from the episode. How many times, especially from season 1, episode 1 of this podcast, have we described Mulder as a Han Solo type? And he literally does the Han Solo slide into the corridor during this episode. There's no way that's not a nod to Solo, because it's the exact same slide, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Yeah, it was one week where we can all move on from.
Yeah, it was. That's the thing. Just forgettable. It wasn't bad. It was just forgettable.
Luke's production notes.
Agua Mala, which was written by David Amann, making his second story for the X-Files after Terms of Endearment, went through several very different drafts. Amann was originally tasked with bringing back the character of Arthur Dales, and his first story revolved around a monster lurking in an abandoned gold mine. Frank Spotnitz, the show's executive producer, was not drawn to the mine aspect, but enjoyed the concept of a monster running amok in an enclosed space. A man subsequently redeveloped the idea, setting the episode during a hurricane and featuring a sea monster. Originally, the sea monster was blown onto dry land and crawled into the building before a man decided to rewrite it as living water.
Both of those ideas sound better than the episode we had.
I feel like Spotnitz fucked this one.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. How about light fixtures? Get rid of the gold mines. How about light
I think
fixtures?
Spotnitz has got his eyes on the purse strings on this.
Yeah,
So
he got,
mine, expensive.
he got put in charge of finance for
Yeah.
this season, didn't he?
No way. Bottle episode. That's what we're getting.
How about water? Ooh.
The funny thing is, like, there's a production note later explaining how they made the water, and it's like, that sounds pretty hard to do, to be honest. So it's like monster in a gold mine. Just I don't know. It's CG. Just whatever. What could the monster in a gold mine be? I imagine like a mimic from D&D. You know what I mean? Like that thing that just transforms into other stuff.
It'd be difficult to do that in a serious context. I think like maybe like
Dragon. They like gold.
that would be a huge episode. Mulder and Scully find a dragon.
What if it's like? Do you remember that film Reign of Fire?
I've got my next prediction for the end of this season. Mulder and Scully fight a dragon.
I mean, we laugh. I would fucking love to see that.
I think it would more likely be what's that film where they go cave?
Oh, The Descent.
The Descent.
Yeah.
You know those monsters like bat-like humans.
They're like, what are they called? Like, they're like based on dark elves, aren't they? Like that.
yeah,
myth,
basically
yeah.
like humans that have like learned, like lost the sight and they've got like super hearing and stuff like that.
That would be
would be more. I think that would work in an X-Files setting.
Well, Spotnitz, if you are listening, a bit late, but you know, we could rewrite this episode for you. No
but
problem.
Spotnitz will hear my idea like bat people and be like, "Ooh,
Ka-ching.
what?
No way.
What? Yeah. What about if it's thin air that is causing distress in these
the
minds?"
monster is invisible. Yeah. Anyway.
Like, oh, disparage. He's done nothing wrong for the rest of the 6 seasons, and now he's like this really uptight, like, oh, I've got to think about the money.
He's suddenly become the penny pincher. Oh god. Director Rob Bowman was worried that the episode's monster would not be scary, and thus the story would not be compelling. Bowman therefore used unique camera angles and quick cuts to make the episode feel a hell of a lot better than he was afraid it might.
But you know what? Like, there was scenes like with the tentacles. I'm actually fine with the tentacles. Yeah. Show the monster then. Yeah. Show the monster in its entirety at the end of the episode. You know what I mean? It's like a 2-minute scene. That's all you needed.
Yeah. There's sometimes where it's like there's sometimes where you don't see the monster, like Blair Witch. You don't need to see the monster.
No, that's the point. Yeah, for sure.
But then there's sometimes where it's like you need to just show a little bit. I think of this one because it's not compelling enough.
Yeah,
as it is. But the monster itself was created by special effects makeup supervisor John Vulich, a task he considered the single most difficult thing he did all season. The tentacles were created out of a combination of silicon and urethane. Sorry, I got confused and I wondered what it was called. The octopus bite marks numbered in the hundreds and required 90 minutes to apply.
Oh. That does sound expensive.
Yeah. Spots it's like, no, just water. You drink it and you die.
He's telling them to like make the puncture marks with like lipstick.
Yeah. He's like looking at like a college like film project. As, like,
he's on TikTok.
Yeah. I'm sure we can do his paper mache. The episode's title, Agua Mala, means bad water in Spanish. Agua Mala is also the slang name for the Portuguese man of war, a venomous jellyfish similar in form to the episode's primary antagonist.
I suppose basically it's because jellyfish are like 99% water, aren't they, or something silly like that.
I'm sure I read. I mean, this might be absolute bullshit, but I remember reading something about Portuguese man of war is that they're essentially immortal, like the one is because it's like multiple organisms and like it's not immortal in the fact that like bits of it die off, but they keep regenerating. But unless they're killed, like flat out killed, they'll just keep regenerating. Kind of like lobsters, except what we've spoken about this before, lobsters in their shells. I think we had a big conversation on this.
It sounds like something we talk about.
Yeah. But I think they just like keep like
Oh
changing
yeah,
parts.
dog lobsters outgrow their shells.
Yeah,
The only
yeah.
reason why they die is because they get too big
They're
for
too
themselves.
big, which sounds like a metaphor for life. Too big for
Yeah.
his shell, that guy.
Yeah, that's how you felt when you turned 30.
Way too big for my shell. Need to burst out like a lobster.
That's how Spotted feels every time an episode's being made. It's his purse just
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
way too big. The episode's getting too big for his
This
purse.
episode's too big for its shell.
He's often heard saying that.
Yeah.
Just talking to random extras.
Never heard that saying before in my life, but he keeps saying it.
Such a naysayer.
Darren McGavin appears in the episode as Arthur Dales, making this his second episode in the series after being introduced in Travellers. Because I think he was actually in that at the end when he because he's talking to
Yes.
Mulder about it. So yeah. Again, I didn't recognise the
No,
actor.
I didn't recognise him by face. To be honest, I didn't. I
a lot.
remember the character, but even the name I didn't recognise, to be honest.
Someone about Dales sat with me.
I do remember him now, you say, though, for sure.
The episode was notable both for the amount of water required and its near lack of vibrant light. Regarding the latter, Bowman did not film anything for this episode during daylight or with anything brighter than a flashlight or an emergency lamp in the hallway. The director also explained that Agua Mala was difficult to film because when a cast or crew member got wet, they had to stop everything to dry them off. Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny in particular were waterlogged for a majority of the episode's filming. Anderson later joked, we got drenched. It was like we were back in Vancouver.
Carter's just seething.
Oh god, yeah. I love all these notes there. They're like, it's like Vancouver. And yeah, I like this narrative that we've made that Chris Carter is just furious.
I'm sure he is.
Well, yeah. We
made a whole episode about it, Luke.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. During filming, costume designer Christine Peters was required to bring 6 dry replicas of each character's wardrobe to prevent pneumonia. A lot of effort in it.
Oh, yeah.
This is these. They're like, Spotnit's in his bloody water idea.
He's like, look at all the pennies we're saving.
And finally, the apartment featured in the episode was built from scratch on a soundstage. Production designer Corey Kaplan received the script for Agua Mala around Christmas and realising the amount of work, immediately began drawing up plans for the set. When production for the episode wrapped, the entire set was thrown away because it had been ruined by water.
Yeah. To be fair, when you think about it, the amount of water coming from the ceilings and God knows what else, it must have been an absolute pain to film.
Yeah, I can't even imagine anything with that, any water scenes and stuff like. It's just a lot of hassle.
Yeah.
I think with anything.
It stinks.
Welcome to the Critic's Files.
What would you give this episode? The ultimate question.
I hate being down on the X-Files,
Yeah.
because I don't like it.
Do you know what though? Sometimes you've got to be honest. If an episode you didn't like it, you were like, I didn't enjoy this one. I think it definitely does knock it down.
Yeah. Here's my dilemma. Okay, I've got a little bit of a dilemma here. I have loved this season.
Yeah.
I think this season, so far, has been my favourite season of X-Files ever.
Yeah.
I've really, really thoroughly, as a whole, really thoroughly enjoyed it. And there's not been any bad episodes, really.
Not really, no.
And so is this the worst X-Files episode I've ever seen? Probably not. Does it feel like it now because it's been so good for so long?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it kind of does. A 3?
To be fair, the way you spoke about it, I kind of I don't think that's a bad. It is a bad score.
It's a bad score, yeah.
But if that's how you feel, you've got to be honest.
It's just one of those. Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, I suppose something just didn't click with me.
Yeah, I gave it a 5.5. I'm not going to give it completely because I enjoyed the characters in the hotel and I enjoyed all that stuff. But yeah, this is probably the most skippable episode of this series.
I'm never watching this one again.
Yeah,
ever.
yeah. If people asked, I'd probably recommend them to just move on from this one. With 2,854 votes, the internet gave it a 7.5.
What are they on? What are they smoking?
That's That seems quite high.
Spot. It's sort of all the fake accounts.
It's like, no, it was better. It was better. It also earned a American Society of Cinematographers Outstanding Achievement in Cinematography award. So I can see when you look at like the technical
and
like,
the storm visuals look really good. Yeah.
That's the thing. When you look at it from like production standpoint, I can understand that and reading the production notes. But yeah, as a whole, I don't think it clicked. So yeah,
it's one of those. I mean, maybe just sometimes something doesn't click with certain people.
Yeah. If you had an entire series of these type of episodes, then you've got
it's
a
an
problem.
issue. Yeah, for sure.
But
I think this episode is more an indictment of how much I really enjoyed the rest of the season. Yeah, it says more about the quality of the rest of the episodes than it does about this episode.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, that's the end of Critic Files.
Beautiful. So yeah, I suppose that's the end of this episode. We've got next week we'll be looking at an episode. I believe it's titled Monday. So we'll be looking at that. Luke is back. Our favourite host, Luke, is back to discuss that one with us. Do get in touch on Twitter with any reviews or any thoughts on episodes that we've seen so far. We are looking to get like a bit of a mailbag episode out shortly where we'll sort of read through them, but we do read them all anyway. But we'll see with this if we can get like a mailbag episode where we can just go through some of the certain correspondence we get. But apart from that, unless there's any other matters on the table, Luke,
I think we should just flush this one down the drain.